What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Agnetha, and we're returning to the 1985 album Eyes of a Woman. Thank you, as always, to Scott. And the next track is I Keep Turning Off Lights. That sounds like a very responsible and energy-saving maneuver. I am inclined to interpret it metaphorically or figuratively, and in that regard, it occurs to me that lights give off illumination and warmth, and thus, if you were to turn them off, you are eliminating heat and light and perhaps returning the conditions or the environment to a state of darkness and cold. So that leads me to think this could be about relationships, someone who keeps starting relationships, experiencing that warmth and illumination, but then for one reason or another turns off the lights, ends a relationship, and goes back to a darker and more solitary state. Now that might have nothing to do with the actual song, but I feel like there surely is some metaphorical meaning lurking here. Let's see what I can pick up on a first listen. This is Agnetha Faltskog. The track is I Keep Turning Off Lights, and it's from her 1985 album Eyes of a Woman. I like the production and sonic ingredients of that one a lot. And Yeah, so it had a very 80s sound. Again, some of those synth lines and keyboard bits really did give off an 80s vibe in a great way. There was like one keyboard bit that had a bit of a plinky type of sound, which I felt like didn't quite fit with everything else. It wasn't bad, but it just didn't seamlessly blend with everything the way all the other keyboard bits did. But definitely some, synth bass atmosphere, but also almost like slap bass, like funky guitar bass across the course of the tune, and definitely a very dynamic sound, meaning there were lots of moving parts, and the sections, had those like reverse, like almost full dead pause, but then with a sort of rising rush of wind, syncopated roll, and then it would drop back in. So the transition moments were really engaging as well. Lyrically, I don't quite know what to make of it, but it sounds like maybe there is something to like she's feeling like, she's going along with what someone else is saying. And there was that line early on, what was it, something like, I don't even ask myself like why, like, the distinction between this other person's life and her life. And it sounds like she's maybe, or at least has been, living their life or what they want to do and not her own. But then it seems like the other lines are like, she's turning off lights, she's hiding under covers, she's crying for the answers. Am I hearing those lines correctly? And then rolling with the thunder, which, maybe that is why she's hiding under covers, but I'm not quite sure what to make of some of these metaphors. But just as a general sense of what I heard, it sounds like she's, groping in darkness for answers, but also there's a degree of fear, there's a degree that, or a suggestion that maybe she needs to find answers for herself rather than just going with what someone else is saying. Again, I think there's a clear metaphor, even though the lines sound more visual and literal than perhaps I expected, although I suppose it's not surprising if it's both, meaning, sometimes there are phrases which can be seen in a literal visual sense, but are vehicles for a deeper, like, emotional or figurative meaning or understanding. But yeah, I enjoy this one a lot. I feel like it has a good 80s sound, and it is a mixture of, again, like, funk, and there was even a section near the end which had a bit of a soulful flair to it. So yeah, a bit of a, like, funk soul meets 80s keyboard synth type of fusion. And again, I think Agnetha sounds great with her vocals, so, there's rarely ever any song where I would say that otherwise, or where I would say otherwise about her vocal delivery, but I think it was in a really good place here. So I'm looking forward to people's insights. Once again, shout out to Scott for the CD, shout out for Luca for being sleeping right here below me. Her ears perked up when I said that, though. In any case, let me know what you think, and she and I will see you next time. Peace.